How's it going, guys? Welcome to Thors-Kin GameCast. This is the first episode in a brand new series for us. It's going to grow in time. It's going to have guests. We're going to have a range of topics, but it's not going to be throwaway YouTube material. So it's not going to be daily content just because some news has dropped and we want to get a piece out about it just to get some clicks. This is about us giving detailed opinion pieces about things that we get excited about. So there's no rigidity to being, one GameCast every week or anything like that. It's when the mood strikes, we want to do something game related, this is the place for it. So keep an eye out. If gaming is your thing, it's what you want to keep up on, this is where we're going to be going into detail with all of that kind of good stuff. This is going to be going out on all sort of platforms, whatever you get your podcasts on, so whether it's iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, wherever. But it is going to be geared up for YouTube, so we're going to have shiny videos, intros. Again, they're going to change in time the more that we can put into it. But I just hope you guys are going to enjoy the project. And hopefully you keep joining me back each and every time that we do something with it. So if you end up liking the video, wherever you are listening on it, just give it whatever you can do, a like, subscribe, share, whatever the platform allows you to do. Get to it. But let's get to it ourselves. This year was one of the best E3s ever, in my opinion. I've never seen a show with such sort of blockbuster software after blockbuster, and there was barely a game that I didn't even want. All the way through it, it was just, as the Sony guy said a few years ago, hit after hit after hit. Even in genres that I wouldn't usually play, things like Kingdom Hearts, I just have no interest in, but I found myself wanting to look at it. So it really was just blockbuster after blockbuster. However, standout for me had to be Halo Infinite. So the first thing that you've got to remember is with the show that they did with Halo Infinite is that it's a tech demo. Things can change from here. We get that. We know that the art design might just be standing. The general look at the armor, the graphical fidelity, it could all just be standing. That completely changes for the actual finished title. However, pretty safe to assume that there's some direct correlation that it's going to look like the impressive sort of near photogrammetry techniques that they were doing there. Purpose of this video is to look at the opportunity that Halo having done, sort of moved over to 343, having done Halo 4 and Halo 5. Master Chief Collection obviously was an external studio, but sort of under the helm of 343, and moving into another title now that after Halo 5 didn't go down too great because of story elements, Halo 6 or Halo Infinite has a real big opportunity to sort of hit home, both for the fans, for the franchise, for Microsoft, for 343, for Xbox. It's just every stakeholder it has such an opportunity for. So let's get to it. So first of all, is the things that I want to discuss is, I guess, the word infinite. Let's go top down for a minute. Is what the word infinite is actually going to mean here in terms of a giant overarching gameplay sort of implications on that. First up is the rumor that's going around of it's going to be a Destiny type thing. So it's a shared world. There's going to be loads of updates for your content, and that's what the word infinite is getting at. I'm not really too sure that that's what 343 are going to be doing, because Halo already exists. All those Halo gamers that wanted something a bit more Call of Duty, who wanted something open world and constant updates, they've got that game. There's no reason for Halo to compete in that space, because it's just going to get trounced because Destiny already has that market share. Second of all, I don't think that they should do that. I just generally, even if they were to come out and announce it, I think it's the wrong choice. So what else could the word infinite mean? The other way of thinking about it could just be a simple fact of the word Guardians in Halo 5. It hinted at what the story was about. And I've been doing a bit of thinking. I've been doing sort of thinking about the story up until now and what the word infinite could mean, and that sort of just implying the story arc that they're going to tell. And I want to go into a bit more detail about the story in a few minutes, but maybe something along the lines of this being Cortana's redemption story, and how she's escaped rampancy now, so she is technically, excuse the corny nature of this, but she's an infinite being. Maybe that's what that word infinite means, not the fact that it's an open world, ever-changing story, but it's denoting the story that 343 are going to tell. Maybe it's something more with Master Chief, the librarian, so that he couldn't get codex by the Diadact, activated some random crap in him that I'm still trying to figure out. But Chief is more than just a super soldier. He's meant to be there. The librarian geared up thousands of years of evolution for him to exist. Maybe there's something more to Chief's longevity, his lifespan, what he's capable of, how he's going to interact with Cortana, and the longevity there. Maybe that's what infinite means. Either way, I'm excited. I hope, though, that it is just something that it's the story that they're going to tell rather than a big overarching gameplay change. I don't think the story needs to be some giant open world thing. I do want an open world environment, but I don't think it needs to be this loot orientated free update on your story each and every month. It needs to be just something tailor-made, that's out of the box, that's a 6 to 8 hour campaign that you just play through, in my opinion. And that kind of leads us nice and neatly onto the actual gameplay elements in the story. Is if, let's just say, that is the story that they're going to tell, and who knows, because they did kind of stay on Waypoint that they're taking it in new, bold, unexplored direction, so who knows, maybe they are going to have an open world Destiny type experience. I don't know, but let's just say that they do a self-crafted stereotypical campaign. What story are they going to tell there? What gameplay mechanics are they going to do? The things that I think they need to tell is this needs to be Cortana's redemption story. We've got a fan base of Halo fans that are just they fell in love with Cortana through the series of 1 to 3. Halo 4 was an amazing story that just tipped that line of allegiance over the edge of she's good, and then all of a sudden it leads into Halo 5 of that tipping over the edge, Cortana in air quotes dying. We're ready as a fan base, I think, as someone speaking for the Halo fan base as a whole. I think we're ready to see Cortana sort of return to the light side, if you will. I think this needs to be about Chief. We know it's taking place on a Halo now, an actual installation. Finding some way to undo the carnage of escaping rampancy that's done. Bring her morality back, bring Cortana back to being an infinite being still, where she's never going to die, she's not going to fizzle out after another 7 years, but that actually is old Cortana's personality. At that point, you've satisfied everyone who doesn't want Cortana to be a villain, and you present yourself with an opportunity to introduce a new villain. How amazing would Halo Infinite, or 6, whatever it's supposed to be, how amazing would that be if all of a sudden, after in the first act of the game, Cortana is back on Chief's side and enrolls Atriox and the Flood, and all of a sudden there's this 4-way battle between the banished Covenant, humans, Flood, and the Prometheans that are still technically under the control of Cortana. It would be an absolutely amazing story. When Halo Wars came out, people reacted to Atriox with Halo Wars like it was the next big villain. For an RTS that like 5 people bought, imagine putting that villain, who was an amazing villain by the way, into a first-person shooter Halo that millions of people are going to play, that millions of people are going to experience and find out how much of a badass this dude actually is. He could be a proper poster villain for the Xbox franchise. I don't think Cortana can be, because people weren't really asking for Cortana to go that way. And I think people are ready to see her be redeemed. They're ready to see someone like Atriox step in. They're ready to see the Flood thrown in the mix just to make it more chaotic. And all of this taking place on a Halo. Halo Infinite's opportunity to provide a perfect story that is just fanboy deliverance after fanboy deliverance of nostalgia is just... I hope they react to it. So that's the story covered, both in terms of mechanics, of overarching mechanics at least, and story, in terms of storytelling. Other things that I think they need to do, they need to take out that 4-player co-op. Gears 4 put in 3-player co-op. 3 is really random, but it works because they crafted it around 3 players. Old Halo games have been based around 2-player. That worked because it's been crafted around 2-player co-op. In this, you don't need to just tick that box of 4-player co-op just because it's a quick sort of box checking exercise for that Microsoft style game. Craft it around 2 people. Bring it back into Master Chief, which they've said it's going to be, and have player 2 as a lock or buck or arbiter. Not all of the rest of the team. Because when you play that shit on Legendary and you've got a down and out system, which is something else they have to ditch, and you've got to rely on terrible AI with a Legendary Warden Eternal killing the rest of your team, and you've got to wait a minute for them to revive you when you just want to retry and just get straight back into the action. Just get rid of all of that peripheral bullcrap that you just don't need. Tailor it into a 2-player co-op experience and bring back that Halo feel. Next up is your multiplayer. This is what I think Halo 5 needs to not change anything of. Anyone who says that Halo needs to go back to no sprint, I'm sorry, but you're just wrong. There's no one's opinion's better than one person's or another's, but you're just wrong. Halo needs to mature mechanically. Halo 5 did do that maturity. Jumping, climbing, grabbing, sprinting, the thruster packs, being it, even the ground pound stuff, it opens up gameplay elements that it just needed. You can't get away from that. You can't just have Halo 3 gameplay forever. I've been back and played Halo 3 playlists in Halo 5, and it's cool, it's nostalgic, but it doesn't play as well. You find yourself wanting to boost out of the way, and yes, they don't have to go full on advanced warfare with it, but just keep it to that same level that they currently are. That being said, mechanics is 90% of it. It's not the whole story. They need to address the map situation. Not that Halo 5's maps aren't great. The tailor-made maps are brilliant, but the Forge maps are awful. Forge is great for some lines of sight and things like that. You can create some really fun maps, but they don't look brilliant. And what Halo Infinite needs to do, because let's face it, it's probably going to be a launch title for the next Xbox. It needs to come out and not give people the opportunity to say that bit looks shit. Don't have the Forge maps for the fanboys to post the screenshots of, to say, look at the textures there. Just tailor make all your maps, or if you're going to have some sort of Forge element to it, choose your best ones and then give them to your artists in-house to apply that full level texture and everything. Because it's just, yes, it's only usually in certain playlists that you run into these Forge maps, but it just brings everything down a peg. Your campaign and even the rest of the multiplayer, it's just visually a level down from that, and it just takes you out of that experience. You want Halo to be that top end graphical experience. I don't think they've ever actually occupied the right at the pinnacle. Halo Infinite has an opportunity to come in with a new engine, with that slipspace engine, and occupy that pinnacle of graphics that Halo has been alright at, but never at the pinnacle. It can take that step up, but they can't do it including Forge in the multiplayer. Next up is the actual maps. Again, if the story is on a Halo, the story's about Chief, the story could bring Cortana back into it. You've got nostalgia hit after nostalgia hit. They could bring back maps like Snowbound, Last Resort, High Ground, like all of these old classic maps, redo them from the ground up to take into account all of the actual new mechanics. Isolation, Narrows, all of those kind of amazing, nostalgic, they play perfectly maps. They could bring back, I want them to see, to include rather, scrape off the perfect maps from Halo 2, scrape off the perfect maps from Halo 3 and from 4, not that 4 had any, and from 5, and just put them all in Halo Infinite, and a healthy dash of new ones as well. And that's how to perfect a 99.9% almost perfect multiplayer that as it already is. Next up is going to be the playlist. They need to just, the playlist that they've got now in Halo 5, keep them as they are. You don't need to mess them about anymore. That has gone through such changes over the time period of, I remember getting on the forums of Halo Waypoint on release and putting in all your feedback on what you want, playlist here and playlist there. It exists now because it makes sense to have the playlist exist as they do now. So don't change it. Just put them straight into Halo Infinite. Warzone is going to be the biggest one, and this is what I want to talk about to finish off this video. Is Warzone's rec points, they garnered a lot of hate because it's, microtransactions and unfair advantages and whinge blah blah. The rec system is perfect. If you're going to fund free map packs, then great. You're not getting any advantage because it's all randomized. You can't use those things until you've actually put in the personal performance to access the rec level. So there's recs with microtransactions are like the perfect, microtransactions with recs are the perfect way to implement it, where there's restrictions on it, so you don't need to change that. That with Firefight as well was perfect, but I want them to step it up from there. When Titanfall 1 first came out, it achieved something that no game ever has and ever will again, I don't think, without Titanfall doing it themselves, is with all the bots and with all the drop ships and all the Titans going around. It's the first game that I've ever felt where it was completely alive with people, but it was also completely alive with bots, and it felt like a war. Firefight's great, it does feel like a war, it's manic, but there's an opportunity there to have even more going on. It's not just drops here and everyone's running to a location where it's defeat this boss, defeat that batch of people. Titanfall 1 had shit going on everywhere. That's what this needs to do. Their Warzone, or whatever they do instead of Warzone, needs to ramp it up, whether that's player count, whether that's AI on screen at once, or on per map at once. They need to ramp that up to make it feel like a war, with loads more vehicles going on, where there could be people doing different objectives at any one point. So instead of having everyone kill a certain amount of watchers, it could be a certain team of people need to kill watchers while another one is taking down a boss. So there's all sorts of stuff laid on top of each other, and they could take that Warzone to the next level as well. So I'm going to wrap this up here. We've already been going in nearly 20 minutes now. We've talked about the story, what they can do mechanically and story-wise. That's their biggest opportunity, I think, is to bring that back nostalgia-wise, to redeem Cortana, bring maybe Arbiter back in a proper crafted two-player experience. Introduce Atriox as the big villain. Keep on with that perfected multiplayer, but craft your maps a little bit better. Bring all those classic maps back in, and do all of that with this new Slipspace engine, achieving the absolute pinnacle of graphics of what this next Xbox is going to be. And overall, I think you'd agree that Halo Infinite has an opportunity to be something really, really special. If you like the video, guys, make sure you give it a like and subscribe, like I said at the start, whatever platform you're listening on. And remember, this isn't going to be weekly content. This is going to be whenever the hell we feel like it, whenever there's a relevant subject that we want to go deep into. We are going to get things ramped up, guests and appearances and things like that, so it's not just me waffling on for 20 minutes. We're going to have that back and forth on certain subjects. But I hope you guys liked it. I hope you stick around and tune in for another one. And until next time, see you around.